you're owed money but aren't getting paid, it's time to call the sheriffs.
My name's Mr. Griggs. My colleague and I are enforcement agents.
I'm here to issue a High Court writ.
I've got to do what I'm instructed to by the court.
They're enforcement agents of the High Court. And if a court's ruled in your favour, they're on your side. If the debtor doesn't want to pay,
You currently owe £9,461.80.
the law says the sheriffs can get you what you're owed.
If you don't come to the door, we have to remove the vehicle off the drive.
You'll have a week to pay in full before it gets sold at auction.
Whether it's a small company
Can I speak to the person in charge, please?
or a household name,
We're here to see somebody from G4S.
if they owe you money, the sheriffs get it paid.
I'm not going anywhere. You get him to come in here.
We're not going to be waiting around like that. It needs to be done now. It's collected 42 grand.
Coming up, dental hygienist Paula Ball didn't get paid for working with one of the UK's biggest security firms.
I really couldn't believe it. I thought, what on earth are they playing at? This is a huge company. Why didn't they just pay?
So what will happen when Lawrence and Kev arrive on the company's doorstep?
We have a High Court writ, so we don't have to take any notice of your security protocol, I'm afraid.
The gold and silver are just out of reach when Sheriff Ken Warby tries to recover a debt owed by a jeweller.
Can you come to the door, please? Well, I can't shout through the letterbox. That's ridiculous. Unfortunately, she's not let us in.
But can he get the company to pay? Steve Lee was let down by a customer who'd booked one of his motorhomes.
I lost income as a result of them suddenly cancelling at the last moment, and I thought that it was most unfair and most unreasonable.
Will the sheriffs be able to get what he's owed?
We sent out a notice of enforcement. We've had no contact, so that's why we're here.
And it's an early wake-up call at a house in Stratford. But will the man inside open up?
Clearly we know he's in there, because his vehicle's here, and the dogs are barking. If he doesn't want to come to the door, we'll make arrangements now to get the vehicle towed away.
Central London. And enforcement agents Lawrence Griggs and Kev McNally are battling their way through the morning traffic. They've got a High Court writ against one of the country's biggest security firms.
We're actually going to G4S. We're going to their main building. Obviously sort of famous for providing the security for the Olympics.
Often, smaller debts can be missed by large corporations. But that's not an excuse the sheriffs will accept. And G4S owes £1,100 to a contractor.
Dental hygienist that did work for them in a prison in East Yorkshire. She did 5 sessions and hasn't been paid for them.
Like to open really wide?
That dental hygienist is Paula Ball. For 9 years, she worked regular sessions in the Wolds prison near Hull, where G4S had the contract to provide healthcare. It was work which Paula loved.
It was very, very rewarding. Most of the patients hadn't seen a dentist for many years. Their teeth were not in the best condition. They were very, very pleased at seeing a hygienist. It changed my perception of prison life, to be quite honest.
But when G4S lost the contract, the new healthcare providers didn't want to hire a hygienist, so the work dried up. To make matters worse, G4S never paid Paula for her final sessions.
This became beyond a joke. Money from March still hadn't been paid by July.
Paula was owed nearly £1,400, and despite repeatedly chasing up the payments, the money never arrived.
I sent emails, I spoke to people on the phone. Difficult to speak to people on the phone because you get a different person each time. Whether I just got lost in the system, I don't know.
Paula had assumed that if she persisted, then sooner or later G4S would pay up. But as the months went by, her patience ran out. She began to realise the only way she was going to get paid was if she took some kind of legal action.
I think I just got the bit between my teeth that, this really was unfair. I still have bills to pay, like everybody else. It's quite scary taking on a company as big as them. So I was talking to a friend one evening and she said, you should try Money Claims Online.
Money Claims Online is a government website which allows consumers to lodge their case with the county court. Paula filed her claim against G4S, and while the company initially said they'd defend it, they didn't. Paula was awarded a judgment in her favour, ordering the company to settle the debt.
I then thought that they would pay up, but they didn't. I really couldn't believe it. I thought, what on earth are they playing at? This is a huge company. It's just unbelievable.
Just when Paula had given up hope, she received an email out of the blue from G4S to say they'd made a payment of £825. They never explained why it was less than what she was owed, and Paula didn't appear to have received it.
They said they'd paid it and there was no record of it going into my account. And then they discovered they'd tried to pay it into the wrong account, an account that doesn't exist. Eventually, they did pay £825 into my bank account. Whether it was to shut me up or whether it was to stop the process, I don't know.
Paula's still been left hundreds of pounds out of pocket, and having had to fight to get this far, she's not about to give up.
I have worked for that money and I've earned it. So I will go after the remaining balance.
And left with no other alternative, that means turning to the sheriffs.
I can think of no other way of retrieving the money. I'm a bit at a loss, and this is the last hope. It's now up to them to see what they can do.
In the capital, Lawrence and Kev are on their way to see G4S. They're confident of getting paid, though they are expecting that the sheer size of the company might complicate matters.
Just getting them to recognise the claimant and find the claimant in their system is normally half the battle with big companies like this.
Another challenge is parking in central London. This time, Lawrence thinks he's got lucky, but he might be getting ideas above his station.
Diplomatic cars only.
That's Andy.
The G4S office is in a shared block, and the first challenge for Lawrence and Kev will be getting past reception.
Morning. No, it's Mr. Grix, my colleague and our enforcement agents. We're here to see somebody from G4S.
Mr.
Grix.
Who are you meeting with?
We're not meeting with anybody. We're here to execute a High Court writ against G4S.
Well, they're on floor 5, yeah?
Yeah, we'll just go up. It's all right.
But the reception staff have other ideas.
We'll need to let them know that you're coming up.
No, we just go up.
Well, the thing is now, if we do this, it's going to come...
We have a High Court writ, so we don't have to take any notice of your security protocol, I'm afraid. If you want to phone them and your phone call gets through before we do, that's fair enough.
Lawrence and Kev have got past the security firm's security with ease. Upstairs, and it's reception number 2.
Morning. My name's Mr. Grix, my colleague and our enforcement agents. We've got a High Court writ to execute against G4S. So I'd imagine we need to speak to somebody either in your accounts or your legal department, please.
Bear with me 2 seconds.
Yep.
The sheriffs are asked to wait while the staff make inquiries.
I think it's about the biggest security company in the country, isn't it? Yeah, turnover nearly 7 billion.
That's a few quid.
So they should be able to cover the £1,100 they owe today, provided they can find the right person to deal with it.
Hello.
Do you know which division G4S is?
No, we've just got G4S. We haven't got a division specifically.
Okay. Bear with me just a second.
As Lawrence predicted, no one seems quite sure who the right person is to deal with the sheriff's unannounced arrival, let alone finding details of the claimant. But within a few minutes, someone more senior arrives.
Hello there, guys. Oh, hello there, you come.
Our cameraman's told to leave the building, while Lawrence and Kev stay inside, trying to persuade G4S to pay Paula's missing wages. An hour and a half later, they emerge.
I don't think they actually managed to find out what it was about. There's such a big organisation with so many different branches and so many subcontractors, they didn't actually bother to try and find our claimant on the system. Basically, they just went away and arranged the transfer, and they're going to look into where it went wrong later on and kick the appropriate person up the posterior, probably. A bit boring sitting there for sort of best part of 2 hours waiting for somebody to manage to do a bank transfer, but a success is a success.
The sheriffs have been paid in full, And back in Yorkshire, Paula Ball is delighted.
I would like to thank the sheriffs. They've done a very good job. Very relieved that it's all over now and that the money's actually in my bank account. And I would like to say to people, don't be intimidated by doing something like this and taking on a large company. It can work out and you can get your money back.
G4S told us that they apologised to Paula for the unacceptable lengths she had to go to in order to be paid for her services. The company has been making major structural changes to its UK payment system, which has resulted in some technical challenges. However, they say the delay and inconvenience was clearly inexcusable. If you've been ripped off and the person or company responsible refuses to pay you back, the first step is to make a claim in the county court. It's simple to do this online, for a small fee depending on the size of the claim. The court will review the evidence, and if it finds in your favour, the debtor will be ordered to pay up. If they don't, then for a further £60, the High Court will grant a writ, authorising the sheriffs to act on your behalf. If they're successful, you get all your money back. While Lawrence and Kev are chasing the big fish, Sheriff Ken Warby is in Finchley, looking for a very different kind of business. He's pursuing a debt owed by a small shop.
We're off to a place called Gina Jewellers. The debt is £1,600. The only thing I know about it is it's unpaid invoices to a jewellery wholesalers.
The wholesaler is a family firm called Jenny Brown Limited. After Gina Jewellers ran up an unpaid bill of over £1,000, they took the matter to the county court and won a judgment in their favour. It's not been settled, and now Ken is on his way to chase the debt. Ken's looking forward to the job. It's not just diamonds that are a sheriff's best friend. He'd settle for gold or silver if it comes to it.
They're very easy to remove goods from jewellery shops. You can usually demand a full amount straight away. So, pretty confident we could get a result on this one. Oh, there it is. And it is Gina Jewellers, yes.
Ken parks up and heads for the door. But it turns out he's not the only one aware of how easily the shop's stock can be removed. They've got a button entry system, so Ken won't just be striding in.
Ladies see me standing here. Oh. Let's see if they'll come. Hello? Sorry, can you come to the door, please?
The staff have decided they don't like the look of Ken and our camera, and they're not opening up. Instead, they're battening down the hatches.
It's an intercom to get into the door. Now they're behind the protective screen, and they're on the phone to someone now. Could be the police or anyone I don't know.
Ken can't do anything unless he can get inside the shop, or at least speak to the staff. With no leverage, he's got to try and be diplomatic.
I'll explain what this is about. I've got identification on me. Can you not come to the door? Well, I can't shout through the letterbox. That's ridiculous.
That is, however, exactly what he'll have to do.
Right. It's regarding a debt owed to someone called Jenny Brown Limited. Is that making any sense? Right, OK. You've got an amount outstanding as at today's date of £1,668.88.
The staff member says the shop has recently changed hands and that the debt dates back to the previous owners. What Ken will need to find out is whether any of the assets inside actually belong to the company named on the writ. But that's going to be tricky, as the woman still won't open the door.
Unfortunately, she's not letting us in, and the owner isn't back until later on this afternoon. She's told me to wait for now, so I'm wondering what she's going to come back to the door and talk about, but at the moment she's only talking me through the other side. Bit of a shame, because there's certainly plenty of assets in there.
But unless the woman is willing to open the door, he won't be getting his hands on any of those assets today. Faced with little alternative, Ken decides to call it quits for now.
Would you take this? All right, this just explains what the debt is about. That's the breakdown. All I will suggest, OK, because this is our first attendance, is that this gets paid today, because failing that, we will be back again and when we come back, there will be extra charges on there. All right, thank you. All right, cheers.
Ken's hoping the threat of a growing bill will prompt the company to respond, and that's the best he can do.
Hoping that she's going to give me a call later on today or get the debt paid. We'll be back another day. It doesn't bother me that much.
Ken heads off to the next job, but a couple of hours later he gets a phone call.
Hello? There are two ways you can pay that. You can either go online and pay it by card, or you can do a bank transfer.
Ken's presence at the shop earlier clearly had an effect. Even though the shop's being taken over by a different company, the sale hasn't yet completed, and in the meantime the new boss is willing to settle the debt on the previous owner's behalf.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Apparently they're under new ownership, but the guy that's bought the jewellers still wants to clear the debts. The debt outstanding is £1,668 as at today's date. He said he can pay the £600. I said if he can pay the £1,000 today, I'll give him 2 weeks to pay the balance. He's going to give me a call back, so hopefully that'll get sorted soon as well.
Later that day, the boss did pay the £1,000 and cleared the remaining balance within 2 weeks. Jenny Brown Limited have now got their money back. In the Midlands, enforcement agents Tommy Coyle and Craig Wild have an early morning call to make in pursuit of a debt owed by a businessman.
We're on our way to Stratford-on-Avon. It's the second call that we're going to this address. This particular case is just short of £7,000. It's £6,900 outstanding.
But there are some details of the case which Craig is struggling to get to grips with.
The gentleman's name is Mr. Igor. Yeah, forgive me on this. His name is Mr. Igor Kolodochko.
Mr. Kolodochko was taken to court 4.5 years ago over unpaid legal bills. Although judgment was found against him, he's never paid back what he owes. When Tommy visited his home a few weeks ago, there was no answer, but he did clock an expensive-looking Volvo parked in the driveway.
I took the details so we could do our checks within the office, DVLA checks, HPI, make sure the car's not stolen. It's come back to a rough value of about 23,000.
More than enough to cover the outstanding debt. And when they get to the house under cover of darkness, the good news is it's there.
That's the Volvo. Yep, the car's there. It appears to be quite a reasonable sort of sized property, especially for Stratford.
At residential addresses, the sheriffs have to arrive early so there's more chance of finding the debtor in. But the drawback is they're often still in bed. There's no response from the bell, so Tommy tries again. Still no joy.
It is quite early though, isn't it?
It could be that the man's not there. Either that, or he's a very heavy sleeper.
No signs at the moment. No lights coming on yet. And you can clearly hear the bell working, so we'll just keep doing that for now until some signs of life comes to fruition.
They soon do, but not the kind they're after.
Can hear dogs.
Can you?
They're barking now.
Tommy and Craig are convinced the debtor's at home, but if he won't speak to them, then they'll have no choice other than removing the car.
It's now 7:30. I'd give him till 8 o'clock. Give him every opportunity to get it sorted. If he doesn't want to, then we'll have to sort it for him.
After all, there's only so much banging on the door they can do.
Keep knocking his door at this. You might ring the police. I'm saying I've got some guys, some big guys trying to break in or something, isn't he?
But before they call a tow truck, Tommy makes one last attempt to make contact with Mr. Kolodochko.
Hello, it's the sheriff's office here.
You got to say his surname as well, Tommy.
Kolodochko. Is that? Would you say that? Kolodochko.
Kolodochko or something like that.
Mr. Kolodochko? Could you come to the door, please? Didn't say that right, did I?
No, you didn't. Try again.
Mr. Kolodosco, it's the sheriff's office here. If you don't come to the door so we can have a chat with you, we have to remove the vehicle off the drive. That's why we're here today.
Clearly we know he's in there, because his vehicle's here.
Can't hear that, can you?
And the dogs are barking, so he's aware of us. He's just given the ultimatum now. If he doesn't want to come to the door, then that's his prerogative, but we'll make arrangements now to get the vehicle towed away.
Tommy makes the call to book a tow truck, then turns his attention to making sure no one else can move the Volvo first.
Tommy,
What?
this side's better.
No, mate, you just have to go on the other side. Hang on, no.
They need to get a clamp on as quickly as possible, just in case anyone thinks they can try to stop them.
This ain't gonna go on. Toothpick. Try another one.
See the bottom wishbone there?
Yeah, I've got it. Right, there.
It's on, and a sticker on the windscreen is the final touch.
If he jumps in the vehicle and says he didn't realise it was clamped with a big yellow clamp on the front, that the sticker's another secondary sort of warning for him.
The debtor's not likely to try to drive off, but as much as anything, the clamp's about sending a signal.
Hopefully it spur him on a bit, showing that we're seriously going to take it, because some people don't think it's going to happen to the last minute. Hopefully this shows that it is.
Tommy and Craig aren't in any rush to take the car, as recent changes to legislation mean they can't do it until 2 hours after they got here. The idea is to give the debtor a reasonable chance to get the matter sorted first. But in Mr. Kolodochko's case, that looks increasingly unlikely.
We've done everything we can to try and make contact with him. We have no number for him on file, otherwise we'd call him too. By the time the arrangements are made and the contractors come here to remove it, we'll be well over the 2 hours, which is giving him, under the new regs, plenty of time to, obviously, if he wanted to get this addressed.
But just when they're giving up hope of that happening, Craig spots movement at the house. A shutter has been opened.
You actually see someone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I saw it open up.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
There's definitely someone home, and whoever it is, they're not trying to be subtle after all.
Lights on there. Middle room lights here on the top.
I can hear footsteps downstairs.
Yet still no one will come to the door, much to the sheriff's frustration. If the debtor's determined not to cooperate, then the car will have to go. So Tommy starts preparing it for removal.
Just doing a damage report on the vehicle. It's just to cover ourselves, really. If he does pay the day and gets it back. Pretty good nick, isn't it?
Not even a scuffed alloy, really.
Then, just as the sheriffs are resigned to waiting for the truck, Tommy suddenly leaps into action.
Hello,
A man has appeared at the door.
Mr. Kolodotsko? You're right, sir, from the sheriff's office. It's to do with a court order, a High Court writ of control. That's why we've been trying to contact you. You've had a letter before explaining the situation.
What's that?
It's to do...
Mr. Kolodochko says he doesn't know anything about the case, so Tommy shows him the details on the writ.
Does this ring any bells to yourself? You use their services for something?
I didn't, how can I find out? I have to find out about this because it's to do with my own companies. I don't...
Well, to be honest, it's gone a bit too far now. It's a situation.
Not my problem. I haven't done anything.
But the courts are saying you are because your name. You've actually got a county court judgment logged against you.
Mr. Kolodochko says he's retired, and the debt must be to do with a company he used to run. But the claimant has sued him personally, and he's already had more than 4 years to pay it.
The judgment was the 4th of the 5th, 2011. So you must have knew about it back then, because they would have. The county court would have sent you a letter. But I know it's very tough at the moment and early in the morning. But the situation is as simple as we've got about an hour and the vehicle's going to be removed, or we need the balance paid.
Why should you quickly stop my...
Because it's a court order in your name. It's an enforcement.
Who do I speak to from the courts now? It's nothing to do with it.
It's a bit late at this stage.
Mr. Kolodochko's adamant that the debt isn't his, but that's not what the law says, and Tommy now needs to know whether he's going to pay.
What, you're saying you're going to pay because I can stop the removal truck coming?
Of course. Well, I have to pay. Well, choice.
You do. You haven't. But you get 14 days before the money goes to the claimant. Okay? Yeah. So within that 14 days, go and seek your own legal advice. If you want to go inside for a minute, keep warm, and I'll come and knock you. Paying it on card.
Okay.
Mr. Kolodochko has reluctantly agreed to pay in full, though the lie-in has cost him.
We just cancelled the truck for now. Unfortunately, this guy, had he have come to the door and discussed it with us when we first got here over an hour ago, would have saved himself the contractor fee, which has been applied now.
But Mr. Kolodochko says the reason he didn't come to the door is that he sleeps in the back of the house and never heard the commotion.
I haven't heard anything, no. The only thing I noticed when I opened the curtains, I saw some people wandering around outside and then I came out.
As for the case in question, he thinks he might now know what it's about.
Now I've been given a name. I think it's something to do with somebody stole £1 million from my company, and this is to do with claiming money back from that. Now I've got to take it up with my solicitors and accountants to see what happens, because if nothing else, the company has to pay me back.
But one way or another, the claimant will now get the money he's owed. And for the sheriffs, it's a case of justice served.
He kind of knows what it's about. He's saying it's some old legal fees. But he said he handed all the information to his accountant to sort out. Well, he shouldn't have done that. He should have complied with the court order and got it paid a long time ago. But at 9 o'clock now, and we've got the full payment, just over the 7,000. So, good result.
To quote Shakespeare, to pay or not to pay, and clearly he did.
Sheriffs are now officially known as High Court enforcement agents, and they'll collect the money you're owed.
My job is to collect in full or remove goods.
They've got more powers of entry than bailiffs.
We don't have to take any notice of your security protocol, I'm afraid.
And there's no limit on the size of the debts they can pursue.
£1.6 million.
Every year, sheriffs enforce more than 70,000 writs across England and Wales, and recover more than £75 million.
I'm here today to take control of goods to the value of £41,086.
We have to insist on full payment.
Their fees are set by the government, which debtors have to pay on top of what they already owe.
Thank you very much. See you later.
If the sheriffs can't recover any of your money, there's a fee of £75 plus VAT. It's not just Tommy and Craig who've had an early start. It's before dawn in London, and Lawrence and Kev are also on their way to see a debtor.
At 6:20, we are heading into central London, sort of Chelsea way. We're going to see Mr. Christian Fallon.
It's a highly unusual case for the sheriffs, as the sum of money they're after is one of the biggest they've ever dealt with.
He owes a debt of £1.6 million.
It's a huge amount of money, as on this occasion the sheriffs are delving into the world of high finance.
He was given some money to invest, and he never did, and never paid it back.
Mr. Fallon has been sued by 4 investors, and although he defended the case, he lost. Now it's down to Lawrence and Kev to try to persuade him to pay.
Lawrence has actually been to another address we had for him. Turned out to be his parents' address.
I've got no answer. But he phoned me up, he's obviously aware of the debt, said he'd pay $20,000 by yesterday.
And hasn't. So, we're going to try and get some money out of him.
The sheriffs know this job's a long shot. The new address is a flat, and it's highly unlikely they'll be able to find enough assets there to cover a debt of this size. But there's a chance their visit could be enough to rattle Mr. Fallon's cage and prompt him into payment. They're hoping an element of surprise will help.
He doesn't actually know we've got this address where we're going now. It's not actually 100% that he does live here.
The postcode leads the sheriffs to a block of swanky-looking serviced apartments. But this isn't the kind of place where you can just walk in.
Enter user code. It's too dark to see which buttons have been pressed on it.
Luckily, Kev spots a friendly security guard and explains that he's an enforcement agent.
Wondered if you could buzz us in this building, please. We've got to visit someone in here.
Hello, sir. Mike.
Hello. Lovely, thanks very much.
They're in, and writ in hand, they head up to what they think might be the man's flat. There's no answer at the door, though he could just be another heavy sleeper. Still no answer, So Lawrence digs out the phone number that the debtor used to call him from when they spoke.
Can't hear it.
If there is someone in there, they're not stirring.
It rang once and then clicked.
Oh, it switched off.
It rather implies he's in there, doesn't it? Can't hear any signs of life.
Then Lawrence hears a sound.
What's that? Somebody's alarm clock, do you reckon?
Sounded like it.
Where's it coming from?
It's a false alarm.
It wasn't coming from here, I don't think, was it?
The sheriff's hopes of catching Mr. Fallon off guard haven't been realised, so they head off, passing by reception on the way to see if they can get any more information.
Just trying to confirm whether he lives there or not. We've just been up to the flat and got no answer.
Hasn't got any name on there.
Hasn't got any name on there, so we don't know whether he's there or not. Okay, no worries. Thanks for your help.
And for now, that's all they can do.
There was no sign of any life, couldn't hear any sound, so we've managed to come down to reception just to try and confirm if he's there or not. They've got no name registered at that flat.
This was always going to be a tricky job, and it's come as no surprise to Lawrence that the debtor is making himself scarce.
If you've got a £1.6 million debt and you're trying to avoid paying it, you're not going to want to be found.
The sheriffs have since made further attempts to contact Mr. Fallon, but have so far not been able to reach him. After a disappointing start to the day, Lawrence and Kev are now heading for the south coast, where they're hoping to have better luck chasing a debt owed by a company specialising in some kind of motorsport.
Bit of a dreary morning. Apart from that, we are going to Sam Thomas Racing Limited. We are looking for £3,075.
Sam Thomas Racing Limited was taken to court after cancelling a booking to hire a motorhome from a company called Jumbo Cruiser. Jumbo Cruiser is based in Newport in Wales and was set up by its MD, Steve Lee, just over 10 years ago. The company specialises in renting out plush motorhomes for events.
It's been quite an interesting business to go into. We've been renting out vehicles to motor racing drivers, for production crew, even for private families to go to a music festival like Glastonbury. Here we have a sofa which turns into a double bed, lovely American fridge freezer with ice making machine. Don't know which one, but I can tell you that One Direction even slept in this bed. It's taken longer than I expected to become profitable, but we are profitable now.
But Steve doesn't want anything to jeopardise the success he's worked hard for, and as Sam Thomas Racing are about to discover, that includes unpaid bills.
Sam Thomas contacted me about a month before a major event at Silverstone asking for a motorhome. I sent him pricing and links to photographs of example vehicles.
This motorhome was available, and as Mr. Thomas liked the look of it, he booked it for 4 days. The paperwork he signed spelt out the cancellation policy and what money had to be paid up front.
It's normal to take a deposits up to 25% immediately, and then the balance usually a month before. So because it was about a month before, the invoice was for the full amount, and that was payable immediately.
The cost of the hire was just under £2,400, and Steve expected the payment to arrive shortly.
After about a week, I noticed we hadn't received the money, so I contacted Mr. Thomas. He said he was away at the moment, but his secretary should have done it, but when he gets back, he'll get it sorted. And then a week later, I still hadn't received it, and I had got another customer wanting a particular vehicle, and asked him if he wanted to come out of the contract, and that's okay because I got another customer. He said, no, I really do want the motorhome. I'll get it sorted.
Reassured that Mr. Thomas was committed to his booking, Steve turned the other customer away. But as the date of the hire approached, the money still hadn't been forthcoming. And then Steve received a call.
A few days before the event, Mr. Thomas contacted me to say that his partner has got a brand new motorhome. It's been delivered now, and they won't need our one. I thought that it was most unfair and most unreasonable.
Steve wasn't about to take that lying down.
So I said, well, I'm sorry, you've left it rather late now, and I have been chasing you over this. I'm sorry, but I have to hold you to the contract now, because it's very unlikely I'm going to be able to get another hirer. If I do, that's fine, but otherwise you'll be liable for the full amount. He said, no, there was no contract. I'm sorry, I don't want to know.
Mr. Thomas wasn't willing to pay it, but as he'd electronically signed up to the terms and conditions, Steve sent him the bill anyway.
I lost income as a result of them suddenly cancelling at the last moment, and I wasn't prepared to accept that. As a business owner, I just feel that I have to do the right thing for my company and for my employees by definition, and make sure that any money I feel is fairly owed to us is collected.
And with Sam Thomas Racing still refusing to pay, Steve decided there was only one way to go.
I had no choice really at the end of the day, so I took him to court. The strange thing is he didn't respond to the summons, so I was able to get a default judgment.
Steve assumed that once he had a court judgment in his pocket, Sam Thomas Racing would admit defeat and make the payment. When they didn't, Steve turned to the sheriffs.
I've tried the county court bailiffs in the past, and to be honest, I don't think they've really got the powers to do what I need. I've not really found them very satisfactory. So I thought I'd give the sheriffs, the High Court enforcement guys, a go because they've got more powers. We'll see how it goes.
Back on the south coast, Lawrence and Kev are about to pay Sam Thomas Racing a visit, but it's hard to tell how this one's going to go, as they don't really know what the company does.
If it's a motor racing team or something like that, then you expect there to be assets for sure. The obvious thing to look for is the cars, but it all comes down to who owns them.
As for car buff Lawrence, he's hoping for something a cut above the typical car garage that the sheriffs visit.
We don't know a lot about it, but they may manufacture cars for a certain class of racing.
The mystery is about to be solved.
Oh, that we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Sam Thomas Racing.
There's some lights.
There's someone in there.
Morning, Sam Thomas Racing Limited.
Morning.
My name's Mr. Grix, my colleague and our enforcement agents.
No idea.
We got a High Court writ against Sam Thomas Racing Limited on behalf of Jumbo Cruiser Limited.
I think I may have heard of him, yeah.
You're not the boss, I take it?
No, I'm not the boss. No, I'm not.
Are you able to get him on the phone?
While the man tries to contact the boss, Lawrence and Kev look for clues as to precisely what the company does and whether there are any assets.
He won't be until after 9 o'clock, sort of thing. I can keep ringing him.
Does it go to voicemail or...?
Yeah, it does, yeah. Does it need to be full payment of?
Yeah, £3,075.98p.
Okay, nice.
It sounds like they may have to wait. And in the meantime, they're itching to find out what's out the back.
Right, we need to have a little look round just to see what you've got here in case we end up having to remove. Basically, we were ordered here by the court to take goods into control to clear the debt.
What sort of racing do you do anyway?
See what there is.
Have a look.
Oh. Yeah, don't touch. That's lovely.
Lawrence can't believe his luck. The garage is full of classic racing cars.
These are amazing, aren't they?
Oh, I'm in heaven.
Yeah, Mustang's lovely.
Proper old Batmobile there as well.
What are we looking at?
The multicoloured BMW.
All right. Why is it called a Batmobile?
I suppose because it looks a bit like the Batmobile, doesn't it?
If you say so, Lawrence.
This is just awesome. The problem is, though, they're going to belong to other people, aren't they? They're not going to be their own cars, I wouldn't think. So these are all customers' cars, I take it, are they?
They are, and so they can't be removed to cover the debt. Meanwhile, the man has managed to get hold of the boss, but only by text message. And he says the case is in dispute.
Because he's got his solicitors on the case and disputing the case, what's going on, and an offer £1,000 cheque now.
We don't take cheques anyway, but it needs to be the full amount. It doesn't matter really what negotiations the solicitors are in.
Yeah.
You know, just because they want to get it sorted doesn't mean that anything's happening. And once that judgment went into place and didn't get paid, the claimant is perfectly within their rights to transfer it up to the High Court.
But the boss has been taken by surprise and wants a bit more time to look into the matter.
He said if there's been no notice of this, can we phone our solicitor at 10 a.m. and then can we...
No. We're not going to be waiting around like that. We sent out a notice of enforcement. We've had no contact, so that's why we're here.
Okay.
The debtor has been given notice, and as time's run out, the sheriffs can insist on immediate payment in full. Any legal challenge will have to come later.
We hold the money for 14 days anyway,
Yep.
and then he's got breathing space to speak to his solicitors, do whatever he needs to do.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah. So, yeah, needs to be done today.
It needs to be done now before we leave. Yeah.
The boss is stalling for time, but the sheriffs are standing firm, and Lawrence is in his element.
Proper Le Mans silk cut Jaguar.
Isn't it?
Whilst Kev looks increasingly bored.
That one there, dark blue one, Sunbeam Tiger. Remember Dr. No, James Bond's in a little Sunbeam when he goes up to the top of the mountain. That's the Tiger, that's a V8.
Is he wrong on any of that?
It's fine.
That's annoying.
But on the plus side, it looks like the sheriffs are making progress. The man is now asking how he can pay, in full.
Does it have to be paid today after in cash, or can
It can be cash, it can be done by bank transfer. Yeah, it needs to be immediate as well. We need to be able to see it hit our bank account before we can issue a receipt and leave.
The company opts to do a bank transfer, but there seems to be a problem.
He's now going to ring Lloyds now. So I'm just giving him a number to ring him. I don't know what it is, I think, so I said to him, I'll do it again.
Then when payment does go through, the sheriffs can't find it in their bank.
That's bizarre.
After half an hour of toing and froing, frustration is growing.
If you like, he's asking if I could ask you to wait in the van, is that right?
No.
You have to wait.
No, we have to wait in premises.
We have to wait here until the payment's gone through.
No.
Just when the atmosphere in the room is getting tense, it's all sorted.
It's there.
And it's case closed for the sheriffs.
Yeah, that's it. It's dropped in. Right, we'll leave you in peace. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
See you
Bye.
later. The debtor solicitor apparently had been trying to communicate with the claimant solicitor to get things resolved, but it hadn't happened. It was certainly not enough to stop the writ.
It was one of the better places we visited, to be fair. It was good. There were some nice motors in there.
Lots of old, sort of historic cars, so I was in the element, really.
And we got paid as well, so can't complain at that.
Back in Wales, Steve Lee has got the news he was hoping for.
Well, it's actually amazing. They acted really quickly, the sheriffs. They've managed to get my money in already. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Sam Thomas told us that he and his team were away racing for 8 weeks at the time Jumbo Cruiser took legal action. As a result, he was unaware of the court proceedings and the judgment against his company. He says it wouldn't have happened had he been in the country.
双 buff 真的是双 buff， 能杀我就杀我。当时想省他，对吧？没必要，律师开起来直接把他背过来就行了，你知道吗？直接开2小月，直接背过来就死了。我是时候了。诶。小云裸了一本杀人书，我操，你这太夸张了！你直接裸本杀人书，你死了就结束了。 大件没有成型之前，老杀人数你他妈是后头。第一个大件都没有成型啊，你老杀人数这么自信？
摇摇晃摇。
一个大件都没有，罗本杀人数我他妈回去。我冰上了兄弟，不是嗝屁了。嗝屁了，打是好了蛋。
是摇还是不摇，这是一个问题。正在路上。摇摇晃摇。
精神领域里，我的眼神最好。
差不多是时候。这是啊！
现在你可以加速。
这是一个。
跑起来吧！这是我最喜欢的一招。
我听到你了。正在路上。摇摇晃摇。差不多是时候了。哈哈哈哈。